Welcome to the Startup Support Surgery podcast, where we light the entrepreneurial spark in medics and healthcare professionals. Join me, Dr. Jo Watkins, GP, business coach and co-founder of The How People, on a journey to discover where your medical know-how meets the business world. This will help you find some clarity on how to balance work, passions and family so that you can gain more freedom and control over your life, but also continue to help people, which is actually why most of us went into medicine to start with. Embarking on this entrepreneurial adventure is not easy. It is a roller coaster of emotions, but it's hugely rewarding and exciting in the process. Drawing on my 20 years of blending medicine and business as a GP, I am here to share experiences, insights and lessons. Expect lively chats, expert interviews and real-life stories from medics who have taken their own path. Let's break free from traditional healthcare norms and explore more innovative ways of making a real difference to people's health and well-being, along with paving the way for a brighter future for us as healthcare professionals. Oh, don't miss my free PDF called From Stethoscope to Startup, which is an 11-page guide in the show notes full of practical help and advice. This is your roadmap to kickstarting your journey with us. Enjoy the show. So welcome to today's podcast. I'm really excited about this one. Dr. Ruth Machin has been in my community for the last year. She's an absolute legend. And in this podcast, we discuss all of the ups and downs that is life after medicine, starting your own business. Ruth shares her wins, her struggles, and her advice to her early entrepreneurial self. Dr. Ruth Machin is a retired consultant radiologist. She worked in a tertiary centre cardiothoracic imaging, specialising in post-mortem imaging in natural and forensic deaths. Ruth has had to take ill health retirement due to corneal neuralgia, a chronic eye condition, in August 2023, which was a pretty tough time, and she had to give up her licence to practice. This then led Ruth to set up one of the UK's first dedicated dry eye charity with a professor of optometry, and she started her journey as a health coach. Ruth has now set up a health coaching business and is currently studying for an MSc in clinical nutrition at the University of Nottingham. And in the last 4 months, we can now say categorically that you have become a YouTube sensation, which is very exciting. But your fact, before we even start thinking about YouTube, your random fact is one of my favourites. You have a 50p coin that you have designed that remains in circulation. How on earth did that happen?
There are still some in circulation. There's not many anymore because people collect them. So that was a competition. I was a registrar on nights and reading the paper as you do on your break, obviously not when supposed to be working hard. Basically advert in one of the papers saying, put your design on this 50p and we'll make it. So I entered and I won one of them. So I think there were 26 winners for various sports. Mine is fencing. And yeah, they liked my design. So they made it into a coin, which obviously got put into circulation and occasionally still turns up. So I've got a small bit of me kind of circulating for all eternity until coins are, gotten rid of and we're all electronic. So it's
amazing. Yeah. That's a great fact. I absolutely love it. Well, welcome to the podcast, Ruth. Thank you for your time. So why don't we, before we get overexcited with what's happening right now, let's wind the clock back to the Ruth that I met. I remember where I was when I met you. Let's talk about, that sort of side of things first, and then we'll go into who you help and how you help them. Yeah,
perfect. So yeah, we met, it was April a year ago, pretty much, wasn't it? You were in a sauna. You had a sort of woody backdrop. And I was basically at the kind of vague idea stage. So the vague idea that I wanted to set up my own health coaching business. At the time, I hadn't even finished my diploma, but I didn't really know. Well, I had a vague inkling that I wanted to do something sort of related to heart health, but that was about it. I didn't know who I served. I didn't know what an ideal client was. I had absolutely no idea how you set up a business, other than I had a vague inkling that I'd need a bank account and a website. But that was literally it. So I went in knowing pretty much nothing. And obviously then, through your program, kind of did try to do it in the right way, i.e. not jumping straight to the website and all the kind of shiny things, and starting to think about who I helped. And that has very much evolved in time as well. So what I thought I wanted to do right at the start has evolved as I have had, basically, I've tried things and seen what's worked and what hasn't worked, and feedback I've got from clients as to what resonates with them. So I have had to sort of not exactly pivot, just kind of change how I sort of put my message out there, specifically because what I wanted to do, which was coach over 50s women about heart health, then discovered that over 50s women don't think they have heart health issues because they associate it with being a man's disease. So I kind of had to change how I put it out there. So they're still getting health coaching information and support that will improve their heart health. It's just kind of in a slightly roundabout way, without
it's packaged up in a different way.
Packaged up, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I remember that first conversation that we had, because one of the things that when we're looking at your unique perspective, your professional experience, is that I remember you saying to me, I know how people die. I've seen people, who've had car accidents. I've seen inside their hearts, and, super passionate about heart health. And we had this long, chat about who your ideal clients could be. And I think at the beginning, I was kind of saying to you, well, men need this. And I had this conversation with a lot of people around this whole like men's heart health thing. And that's where you started. And then it went into women's heart health because you got so many women coming to you. And then what's interesting now is what you're saying is that you were taking feedback all the time on the fact that they weren't engaging with these words that you were putting out there, and they weren't understanding that that's what they needed. So just by making those tweaks in your language, you're giving the same help, the same information, the same advice, but it's now landing with people in a different way.
Yeah.
Would that be fair to say?
And I've slightly changed my focus. And again, some of my change in focus has come around because of going to study nutrition. So obviously you do a small amount of nutrition as a health coaching in a health coaching diploma, but you obviously have to work very much within your scope of practice, i.e. you would never give anyone a meal plan or tell them to cut out certain food groups because you're not a dietitian, you're not a registered nutritionist. So obviously through studying that, I've sort of got an interest in basically postmenopausal nutrition, female nutrition, and it's obviously slightly different in that you've still got kind of the remnants of menopause symptoms, but then you've got the increased cardiovascular risk and the risk of bone health. So ultimately, when I'm in registered nutritionist, that's where I want to go, is sort of supporting women's bodies as they age, because obviously we live a lot longer now. We still have the menopause at 50. That's 30 years of your life without the estrogen you used to have and the effects that has on the body. So taking account of that and making sure we're eating properly to age healthily, that's where I want to go with it. And obviously the heart health is a part of that. So that's why I've slightly changed focus. And again, it was just talking to people, not to sell to them, not to get them on my coaching program, just to talk to them for market research. I put it out there on my social media. I want to talk to women. I don't want anything. I'm not going to sell you anything. I just want to talk to you. And the overwhelming message was this, your messaging doesn't land with me because I don't think it's my problem, but I want this. And then the things they want are the things that would conversely improve their heart health. I want to lose my visceral fat. I want to get fitter. So all the things, but just not, the messaging just wasn't landing. And as you say, I didn't get any. I had one male client. All the others, I just seemed to be attracting over 50s women, and I enjoy coaching over 50s women. So I thought, well, there's no point doing something I don't enjoy. I enjoy this. Hence, I think the first time we spoke, I was on, first time we recorded the podcast, I was at that kind of transition stage, and I was a bit lost and a bit in a bit of a kind of slump because I just didn't know where I was going. And then kind of had to go back and do all that basic work again, and suddenly got an awful lot more clarity. So now I've kind of obviously decided, well, this is what I want to do. And now I'm going to go all in, all guns blazing. And the messaging now does seem to be landing, which is very nice.
So just to recap for anyone that's listening, that's sitting there thinking, I've seen this woman on YouTube, I've heard about this. We have deliberately wound the clock back, and it's just 1 year. Now, that story that you've told, I think could be 3 years or 5 years. I think you have done this very, very quickly. But what you have talked about is that importance of market research, importance of getting out there, not selling, talking to people. We think we've spoken to so many people as doctors. We think we know all this because we've got lots of consultations behind us, lots of experience. But it's a very different beast. So getting out there, speaking to people, taking quick, messy action, that's what you've also demonstrated. But you also said there, the classic adage, you give them what they want and tell them what they need. So they want to lose a visceral fat and all of those things that you suggested, but actually, the needs are the same, whether it's that or whether it's heart health. So there's just so many juicy things I can pull out of that. But you have shown massive resilience, because that dip was around October time. And I think I remember that time. Ruth, what's your self-given hashtag?
Oh, hashtag no job, no kids. I think that's because when comparisonitis kicks in, because I obviously have time. I have what most of in the coaching group don't have, because I don't have kids and I don't have a job because I'm retired. So what I have is time. So I will do things a lot quicker than everyone else. Then everyone else will go, oh, you're doing things so quickly. And it's like, yeah, that's because I don't have jobs and children. So it's my kind of, what's like my caveat for getting things done quickly. Obviously now I don't have a lot of time because I'm now a part-time aging student, which is obviously, got its challenges in itself. So that obviously has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. But until I decided it would be a really good idea to go back to university at 50, I had a lot more time.
Yeah. And time is, an important factor when we're starting out. And I think what you've touched on, that comparisonitis, you can't, if you've got a full-time job and 3 children under the age of 10, you've got challenges on your time that Ruth didn't have, but you've also used your time really wisely. And like you say, now you're pretty busy with your nutritional work. You're pretty busy with your YouTube stuff. You're going to be pretty busy with your health coaching as a result. But you have allocated that time. But that slump in October, let's go back to that a little bit. What was going through your head at that time?
Oh, I was quite low, because it's like, it was that, I think when you start out, you have a misconception of how it's going to be. And I don't know if it's a medic thing or it's just an anybody thing. You think, well, I'm going to put something out there and it's bloody marvellous and everyone's going to buy it and it'll be great. There's a small part of you which thinks that, like, why would no one want to buy my service? Because it's amazing. And then you do something and the Americans call it crickets. It's like the tumbleweed moment, and you think, oh, okay. So I was doing things and just nothing was resonating. So then you start thinking, well, is it me? Am I just rubbish? Do people not want to buy my thing because I'm rubbish? And you get yourself in a little bit of a downward spiral. And what helps is somebody in the group or yourself going, that's completely normal. That happens to everybody. And people saying your first offer isn't going to be your final offer. It's going to evolve. It's going to change. So I think I was in that kind of slump and trying to decide whether I should change what I was doing fairly radically, having sort of gone down one path. Although it actually wasn't that radical. I just built it up in my head that it was, and it actually really wasn't. I just wrote one LinkedIn post on it and just changed things, and that was it. And people pay way less attention than you think they're going to pay. Hence, I doubt many people even noticed. So it was just because it was scary, and because I felt like failure, and my inner critic was going, well, you're rubbish at this. Why, all these people you went to your health coaching diploma with, they're getting clients. Why aren't you? You've got this background. Why can't you get clients? What's wrong with you? Are you a rubbish coach? So that's the inner critic. And obviously all of us, I think, sometimes struggle with that, because even though rational brain goes, yeah, that's rubbish, irrational brain's like, So that's basically where I was in October. I also had quite a sick dog at the time. My dog wasn't very well, and my dog unfortunately later did pass away. So it just generally life wasn't great and the career thing wasn't great. And obviously it was having to go back to university and suddenly put my aging menopause brain foggy brain through a flipping biochemistry exam it was just like, whoa, what have I done?
What have you done?
What have I done? So it was kind of all of that at the same time, and the business not working. So I wasn't in a great place. And I do remember having that one call when I had to turn the camera off because I just thought I'm going to cry in a minute. It was not good. So yeah, I bounced back. It took a couple of months, but I bounced back.
And in that couple of months, you went away. It was your birthday, and you went away. I remember you saying to me, "Yes, I'm going to stop for a bit."
Yeah.
How did that go?
I think you'd said it and Rachel had both said it, is sometimes you just need a break from it. And I did. I basically just put everything on hold, went to America for 10 days because I was 50 and I thought that might ease the transition somewhat. And then basically didn't go at it again probably until after Christmas into January, because I had an exam in January as well. So I thought, well, that takes priority. So I came back to it 2 months later with fresh eyes, basically, and thought, well, what I was doing wasn't working, so I'll try this. And I did some more market research. I've done some recently, so just put out a survey and sort of things. And thought, well, yeah, this might work. So I'm going all in, and I'll see how the messaging lands. And if it lands, I'll go with it. And if it doesn't, I'll try something different again. And I'll just keep trying things differently until something does land. But I think this does have some traction now. Certainly the YouTube is showing that there's people out there who want this service. So I'm pleased I took the time away because it just gave me a bit of headspace to reevaluate.
Good. So before we get on to that, because in my head, I've got the timeline. I know exactly where we are. We're like mid-January. And I want to just highlight what you've just said. You took some time out. Now, everybody has this guilt of taking time out, particularly when you're in a program like mine, which is a year long for a reason, because I kind of expect everybody to have this period of time where they're like, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. Stop. Even if it's for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, it could be for 2 months. Becca Ryle had a 6-month break. It's normal. And like I say, it lets those creative juices in. So you've come back, you've been away, you're thinking, right, I'm going to go all in. It's that shift in your mindset. It's like, I'm going to make these changes, I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to go all in. So there's something there, isn't there, that's switched a little bit.
Yeah.
And then if I remember rightly, the first, I think it was around the time of the mastermind.
Yeah, which was February.
End of January it was. First YouTube idea. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was in your masterclass. So I can't remember who had been talking about YouTube in the actual talk, and I put in the chat box, I'd love to start a YouTube channel. And David Heinmarsh replied and said, I can help you with that. And then he tracked me down on LinkedIn. He says he stalked me down on LinkedIn. He didn't. He just searched my name. He's not a stalker. And so he basically sent me a message on LinkedIn going, seriously, do you want to start a YouTube channel? I can help you because I have one. And I think the key to it was I just didn't allow myself to think too much, because if I'd thought too much, I would have talked myself out of it. And I didn't. I just kind of went, so he gave me the nudge, and if he hadn't given me the nudge, I wouldn't have done it either. I just kind of went, okay, yeah, I'll do it then. Right, what do I need to do? And I literally did record my first video. I mean, I've recorded all my videos on a really rubbish iPhone 12, but yeah, recorded my first video, iPhone 12, no mic, no nothing, and put it on the internet. And it just kind of happened within a week. So, because my first video out was the 13th of February, so 2 weeks it took. And put it out there and just went with it. And I think if I'd have taken longer or not just put something out there, I'd have managed to talk myself out of it, because it's, honest to goodness, one of the most frightening things I've ever done, because it's not just putting yourself on social media, it's putting your head on social media, your voice, and people see more of you in a video than they ever will via your writing. And that's frightening, because you know at some point someone's going to be really mean to you, and someone has been, I've been told I'm on a power trip because I hang on to my doctor title. I've been told I had a boring and unremarkable career and now I'm being boring and unremarkable on the internet. You know, I've had some really not particularly pleasant comments. I either reply with sarcasm, going, well, you obviously found it so boring you watched till the end, making the algorithm like the video all the more, thanks for that. Or I just delete and block them because, you know, if you're going to be mean, I'm going to block you. And I've been called ugly as well, so that's nice. So you have to develop a bit of a thick skin. But equally, your negativity bias of your brain, you're going to focus on the bad comments, but they are literally less than 1% of the total. The vast majority are lovely. And so I have found people like what I'm doing. And there's a sense of community on YouTube as well. It's nice because they're obviously trying to develop the platform to make it a little bit more like other social media platforms. So you can put written posts on as well and start to develop a community. So I now have a community on there. I put a what's your goal of the week post on a Monday. I put a share your wins on a Friday. So I'm starting to give a little bit of coaching for free and to try and give people some support. And that with the once a week videos, it seems to have snowballed. And what was really useful in the first stage was David was able to give me some feedback on those early videos saying, you need to lose the theme tune. That's really old fashioned. You need to make your intro shorter because you've literally got 15 to 30 seconds to hook your viewer or they will click off your video. So it's been a really steep learning curve. I've bought a better mic because sound quality is way more important than sort of video quality. So I've learned a lot in a short space of time and I was getting pretty slow growth. And then I made the Way to Invest video and it went bonkers. I made the video. Yeah. I'd worn it. There was all this stuff on social media about how they were a game changer for older women. So I thought, are they really? So I bought one off Amazon, tried it for a month, wrote about sort of vlogged about my experiences and then went through the science of them to say, you know, are they good for bone density? Are they good for muscle mass, you know, preservation? Spoiler, not as good as people say they are. And they have a propensity to give people back pain. So I put all of that in the video and put it out there thinking, well, this isn't even one of my better videos because it's basically 18 minutes of me banging on a bit. There wasn't any script. It was just me wibbling. There was a bit with the cat in and all sorts. And I think 3 days in, it just went mental. And I was getting like 1,000 views an hour at one point, and it just kept going up and up and up. And so I got monetized. My channel got monetized literally off the back of that one video because I went from 95 subscribers to obviously well over 1,000 and got my watch hours in as well. So yes, the one video monetized my channel. And I think,
do we know why? Just before we get, do we know why? What was different about it? You analysed that?
Yeah, some of it was I think because it had a quite high click-through rate. So click-through rate is determined by your YouTube thumbnail. It's basically people scrolling by it and clicking on it to watch. I think that I had got a kind of, when I put it out there, I was always worried it was a bit clickbaity because it was a picture of me wearing a vest and it said no one mentions this, because no one does mention that these things can give you back pain and they're not as good as the influencers say they are. And I think my title was something like I wore a weighted vest for 30 days and delved into the science or dug into the science. And so something about that sparked some curiosity and made people click on it. So the click-through rate was high. And then it was quite a long video as well. And even though if you look at my stats, my audience retention graph is actually pretty rubbish. Literally like 30% made it till the end. But the average view time is good because it was quite a long video. And because compared to my others, people were watching for longer. Because ultimately, what does YouTube want? Well, it wants people to stay on the platform so it can show them ads. That's what it wants, the algorithm. And obviously something about it, and I mean, it's more complicated than that because it obviously depends on what other videos are out at the same time. The algorithm obviously picked it up and started putting it out to people. And I think the problem at the time is the algorithm didn't really know who my audience was because it takes a while to learn. And it obviously started putting it out to over 50s women, and I can tell that from my stats. And they loved it. And it once it starts getting some engagement and you start getting likes and comments, then that obviously tells the algorithm people are engaging with this. And then what they were doing was then starting to watch my other videos. And again, the YouTube algorithm will like that because it's keeping them on the platform longer. So it all kind of organically worked at the right time. And there's a big old element of luck in it as well, because it all depends on what other videos are around at the time. And, I fully know how the algorithm works. It's a bit of a mystery, but something worked. And I think it's at 180,000 views now, which is, huge.
This is massive, isn't it? Because Dave got very excited because obviously he then came and did a masterclass in May, and you were an example of his masterclass. And I think at that time it was fairly early on in the maybe
yes,
20.
I'd only just got monetized at that point, I think, or I hadn't got monetized. I was almost there. Yeah, and then it kept going. So I've now, apparently 90% of channels don't get monetized. That's the official stat. So obviously getting monetized was my goal, because obviously that whole medic competitive thing is like, well, I want to do this because most people can't do it. I don't want to do it for the money. I want to do it because most people can't. So I that was my goal. So I obviously hit that, and then it's kept on going. I mean, I'm at 10,000 subscribers now. So this is hilarious. I'm officially a micro influencer. Like, woohoo. My husband laughs. He's like, oh, you're going to be going into shops soon going, do you not know who I am? I'm a micro influencer. Give me 3 things. I'm not. But yeah, so I'm at 10,000 subscribers now. Well, 10.1 as of this morning, I checked. So my next goal is like 20,000, and then we'll see where
let's put this. So YouTube is an example of long form content, right? So we talk about YouTube, we talk about newsletters, podcasts, books. These are ways, like touch points with you, but ways of people finding you and being able to like binge listen or binge watch or really sort of accelerate what we call that know, like, and trust. So if you have just an Instagram channel and you find Ruth on Instagram, then you're going to get distracted by something else that pops up 2 seconds later. But if you find a video and you watch a video and you're like, I love this woman, I love what she's on about, you can actually binge watch the whole thing, join your community and become part of your world very quickly, can't you? So that's why YouTube and podcasts are great for that sort of thing. Yeah. How does this fit into your kind of ultimate plan and ecosystem in terms of health coaching? How are you turning these into clients?
So that's exactly why I started it. I started it because I like long form. I don't like short form content. I struggle with short form content, and I struggle with Instagram. I don't like reels. I like going into depth. So that, as you say, it's a blog on your website or Substack. It's a podcast. It's a YouTube channel. I picked YouTube. I picked YouTube because I just sort of decided it would be easier than finding guests for a podcast, whether that's correct or incorrect. I think that was my initial logic. And also, I will answer your question in a minute. I do, as I've deviated slightly. There's the visual creativity side of YouTube, which I really like. I like making graphics. I like the editing. I'm quite a visual person. I've got my GCSE in art, and I love Canva. I absolutely adore Canva, sort of graphic software. So I like all of that. So it fit in terms of my ecosystem. I'm still on Instagram, although I post very little on there. It's just so I've got a presence if somebody looks. I like LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn because LinkedIn works well for long form if you start a newsletter. So what I have now is I have my weekly video, which is on a Thursday. I will take an aspect of that video and delve deeper, and that forms the basis of my Friday newsletter, which is identical, the one that goes to my email subscriber list and the one that goes to my LinkedIn newsletter subscriber list, because I don't think everybody's duplicated. I'm sure that there's not much overlap. And that, again, there, by going deeper on one topic or putting an extra insight in, is what I hope will give someone the incentive to go from my YouTube video to my email subscriber list, because I'm not just repeating things, I'm going deeper, and there's got to be a reason for them to go across and something extra. So it's like, well, you'll get deeper insights, you'll also get first dibs of any offers I put together, etc., etc. So, and again, it was because I had that hot seat with yourself after the weighted vest, and I've gone, it's gone absolutely mad and I don't know what to do. And you went, go and make a lead magnet. So I did. And I think I made a a cheat sheet for my next video. And yeah, loads of people signed up and they loved it. They were like, oh, I really like that. Thank you. Because I think I put on it, print this out and put it on your fridge. It was some, 3 really easy, healthy habits you can do. And so by doing that, my subscriber list has gone from 107 to 647 in 3 months, which is, considering how long it took to get to 107, that's pretty decent growth. And then obviously I've got my LinkedIn newsletter. I've got about sort of 400 subscribers on that. So I've now got a kind of quite a decent distribution list. So and again, at any point, the YouTube algorithm could make a mistake and decide I'm offensive and take away my channel. That's obviously the big fear with any big social media following. So obviously it's nice to have the people who really like you in a separate system, so you can contact them if need be. So that again has helped. And again, it's doing something, because I'm now starting to get people booking discovery calls. And I know they're via the YouTube channel because they're mainly in the States, and my audience is 2/3 American. So I'm guessing the vast majority of the people who are coming through who are in an American time zone have found me via YouTube. I do tend to ask them how they came across me when I chat to them. So it's starting to, the system's starting to work. So obviously now what I need to do is make an offer. Rather than just my one-to-one coaching, which it is at the moment, put together a new offer and at some point put that out into the ether and see how that lands. So that's my next job.
Exciting stuff. So just to recap a little bit, what Ruth's talking about here is turning people that are watching and curious and looking into actual members of an audience that she can then get in front of regularly. Because I think often when you start out, your focus is all on followers and posting on social media. And like Ruth said, none of those people are you're in your business. They are just watching what you do. So that a lead magnet, which many of you might understand, it's this way that we've all signed up for many lead magnets in the past. It's a way of basically saying, if you give me your email address, I'll give you this extra help. And getting somebody on an email address, people often kind of look at me in horror when they're like, why would I do that? Like emails, who reads emails? But it is the only way that you can actually say, like, these are members of my community that I am able to communicate with, grow that trust, show up relentlessly, and just keep trying to understand as much as possible what they need. And then, when you're making offers, and by offers we can mean anything from one-to-one coaching through to group programs or memberships or whatever it is, but you don't just stand there and shout about it on your doorstep or post it once on social media. You go out there and you tell your newsletter. So that's what Ruth's talking about. And you referenced hot seats, which is one of the parts of my membership where people have 10 minutes and we thrash through a problem. So there were a couple of steps as well, I think, in this, weren't there? One is that we got super clear on your niche. And then the other thing is that you stepped into another uncomfortable world that everybody, I have there's two camps in the world of AI with medics. One is like, oh my God, don't talk to me about it. It's horrendous. It's going to take over the earth. And the other are like, oh, this is interesting. And the way I sit with AI is that AI is not going to take over the world, but humans that know how to use AI are where we're at, where we need to be heading. And we have an incredible AI marketing expert in my community called Terrell. So talk us through that, because I think that's made a big
that has made a huge difference. I mean, I'm very pro AI, and I think some of that is because I've come from radiology. So the big thing, everyone keeps going, oh, radiologists, AI is going to take your job and it's going to drink less coffee. But so what radiology has done as a profession is go, we cannot fight AI. AI isn't going anywhere. What we have to do is work smart and work with AI and let AI do the things that we can't do, i.e., say, for example, look at all the GP chest x-rays that have been taken, pick out the ones it thinks they've got cancer on and bump them to the top of the reporting pile, i.e. you're using it smartly, and then you've still got that AI human interaction. So I've never been I'm quite pro AI. Well, obviously until it's like Terminator and it takes over the world. But until then, I'm pro AI. And again, there is a lot of AI generated content out there on LinkedIn, and there's an awful lot of AI generated content on YouTube, and you can spot it a mile off. But what you can do with it is use it smartly and use it to refine your messaging and give you ideas. So what really worked for me was, firstly, as you say, getting really clear on niche and talking to yourself about, I want to help over 50s women who are at this stage in their journey to go from A to B, and what that transformation is and what kind of person I wanted to work with. So my ideal client is Jane, and she's based on a real person who I worked with and loved working with. So brilliant. So then I went and sat with Terrell for about 90 minutes, and she basically quizzed me on my business, on my ideal client, on what I wanted to do, which is start a group coaching program. And then she went away and took all of that and built a custom GPT. And then said, oh, go away and have a play with it, and then come back to me and let me know how you get on. So I went away and I needed a bit of guidance from her in how you prompt, because how you prompt it, mate, it's like if you put rubbish in, you get rubbish out. You have to prompt it in certain ways. I went away and used it. And then I started this almost like iterative process. So I went away and I spent a lot of time just chatting to it and going through, like, if I put a group coaching program together, how can I do it? How do I market it? What can I put into it that will get people from here to A to B without overwhelming them? And just got really, really clear on what I wanted it to look like. And then I basically adapted all the documents that we'd originally written and said to Terrell, right, now can you show me how to go into the back end of it and put like version 2 of the documents in, so it's updating its knowledge bank based on the work I did with it. Hence it's this kind of like a cyclical process. And by doing that, it's now obviously referencing, it keeps it up to date, because it doesn't always, on a custom GPT, it won't have a memory between chats. It forgets things. You have to go back into the original chat. So I found it incredibly helpful, particularly because, like a lot of medics, I find I'm not very good at marketing myself at all. I get the ick. I don't like it. It's like, oh, I feel horribly like I'm showing off. I don't like this at all. So I'm not very good at that marketing, selling myself. Whereas I can say to the GPT, okay, how would you word this? And it will come up with something. And I can either go brilliant, or I can go, oh, that sounds a little bit like a used BMW seller. Can you make it a bit less salesy? And it'll come back again and give you something. And, we have full-on chats. It's like, I decided I need to name it. Alan. I think I'm going to call it Alan for some reason. So, Alan and I occasionally fall out. I'll go, don't you start giving me that cortisol spike nonsense again. And it'll go, oh, yeah, sorry. So I found it, really, really useful. And for helping me just get clear on strategy. And I can say, right, should I do this now, or should I think about doing it later? And it will give me like a table breakdown of pros and cons of doing things at certain times. And the other thing, I can go on forever about AI. The other thing I've done, obviously, because I've bought the paid version of ChatGPT, it's only 20 quid a month. I think it's worth that, in honesty. You've obviously then got the other bits of ChatGPT that you wouldn't necessarily use the custom one for. So, for example, I use the deep research function. I said, right, go out, look at my niche, give me some advice on pricing group coaching programs. And it takes about 10, 15 minutes, and then it comes back with a market analysis. Or go and look at the over 50s niche on YouTube and tell me what topics are trending at the moment. And it will go away and it will come back 15 minutes and give you literally a full report and suggest some content pillars. So it's phenomenal, because for me, because I've got an eye condition, I don't want to spend a long time looking at stuff and doing research on the internet. So the biggest thing it saved me is time, and that's my health, because I've only got 2 hours of screen time a day on average, which it doesn't always, get a lot done. And it can do in 15 minutes what it'd take me a morning to do. So why would I not want to use that technology? So I'm fully... I think where you don't use it to write all your stuff, because it doesn't sound human. You can spot it a mile off. And it just doesn't use language a way that sounds human. And I enjoy writing. I love writing. I love long form writing. I like being able to show my personality in my writing. So it's never going to replace me. But what it does help with is structure. And again, if I will give it a script, for example, a YouTube script, and go, could you tell me which bits are a bit waffly or where there's duplication? So can you help me lightly refine this to take out a little of the repetition and make sure it's clear? And that it does a great job of that. And then it will send it back to me and I'll go, okay, and tweak it again. So it's like human AI, human sandwich is where I like using it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think you've touched on some really great stuff there. And I think anyone that is sort of having that, I can almost see it on the Zoom calls when we have masterclasses with Terrell. It's like sometimes people's like eyes glaze over and they start looking quite pale and clammy. But we've got to learn this stuff.
Yeah, she knows so much as well, which is why I didn't want to build my own custom GPT. I wanted someone else to do it for me because I wouldn't have a clue. And I still don't really have a clue, but I know slightly more than I did before because she's taught me through it. But again, that's what I think I would strongly advise is don't try and do it yourself from the beginning. Get someone else to help you, and then you kind of learn on the job, as it were, like an apprenticeship. You learn as you use it, and then at some point you'll go, well, I want to change it. I want to change its knowledge banks because I've changed what I want. And at that point, then you can go back in and learn how to change it. But if you had to do all that from the beginning, I wouldn't have done it because I'd have just got overwhelmed and then gone, I'm not interested. Bye. But because I think sometimes you just have to accept that there's people out there who are experts and use them wisely. That was my logic with it.
Absolutely. And we go back to that piece about investment of time and money at the beginning. You need to invest in your business and in your own personal growth and in your, what you need at different stages. And I think it's important not to rush into the process because you do have to have that clarity over who you want to help. You don't want to be going in and doing this process and then completely changing your niche. So your sort of timeline, I think most people with a job and a kids, we might be talking of 3 years of what you've done in a year. But I think getting to that point where you're super clear, you're building your audience, you're getting out there and you're being brave, you're not just waiting for the next bit of tech to do it for you. Then you're refining, you want to get your strategy in place, you want to be able to work smarter. The AI used this way is replacing any kind of like copywriter that you might require, or any, it's like having a business coach in your pocket. If you train what Ruth's talking about, a custom GPT is a trained bot, basically, which you're seeing all over the place now, that knows all the information just about you. And that's what you then use for information. So we don't want to get too much deeper into that, but I have to point out that it's another thing that you were like, yep, I'm going to learn about that. And you go out there and learn about it. And there's been lots of points along your way where you've felt kind of like, yep, this is something I need to embrace. Let me go and do it. So I think we need to draw things to a close, but I think we've talked about the highs and, we've talked about some of the lows in the conversation. So let's go with your advice first, your 3 pieces of advice to somebody starting out. And then we'll make sure that we've covered everything at the end of that.
Yeah. So again, I was taking this from the context of what would I say to myself in April 2024 when I started the process. And number 1, I would say it will take a lot longer than you think it will. And that is completely normal. And again, that acceptance that it's normal is what comes through the community, and other people go, yeah, it takes that long. And my accountant going, if you're breaking even at the end of 2 years, you're doing well. And you go, yes, that is completely normal, because then you don't interpret it as a personal failing. You go, well, this is just how long it takes to start a business. But it's obviously going into it completely green and knowing nothing. I didn't realise how long it took to set a business up. And the answer is it takes a long time and it takes a lot of work. But equally, the irony is, because I'm retired, I say this is when I was low in October. I said to my husband, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't even need to do this because I'm retired. I've got an income. I don't know why I need to do this. And my husband said, you absolutely do need to do it because you are unbearable when you've got nothing to focus on. And you will go bonkers if you are doing nothing other than pruning the roses. So you do need to do it for you. And he was entirely right, which is partly why I married him. So that's number 1. Number 2, linked, find your tribe. You need people in the same place as you who for their positivity, saying, yes, you are doing a good thing, keep going, rather than going, what are you doing? Why are you starting a YouTube channel? What are you doing? So you need to know people in the same boat as you, because you need to know some people who are ahead, because then you can see what they did and learn from them. So when I joined, people like Olga, people like Sarah Lou, people who were further along the journey showed me what was possible with work and time. And now I hope I am therefore passing that on to the people who've just joined, going, this is what you can do and this is how far you can come. So you need that. And you also need people at the same level as you, so you're not getting freaked out by the people further along the line. So yeah, having a community of like-minded souls, I would say do that. And I think number 3 is you've got to be brave. You can't stay in your comfort zone, because if you do, it ain't going to work. You've got to push yourself outside your comfort zone and stick your head above the parapet and accept that a few people might take pot shots at it on social. I mean, I've been told I'm a medical industry parrot because of, various nutritional information I've passed on. You get called all sorts. You just have to accept that if you're going on social media, it's going to be uncomfortable. But equally, if you want to grow a personal brand, yes, you can do it without social media, but it's a lot easier to do it with. So you've just got to put your big girl pants on and big boy pants on, or big anybody pants on. Be inclusive. Just your pants. Put your pants on and get on social media and put yourself outside your comfort zone. And as medics, we go, what if someone sees me on social media and think, and you, particularly from an academic medical background, and thinks, what is she doing? Who is she? You just can't think like that, because you can't, basically, because you'd never do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Cracking advice there. It takes time. Find your tribe, like-minded people. I like that. I think you're totally right. People at the same level, people further ahead and people behind, because that learning curve is quick, and that's something I think we have really uniquely in the community. It's amazing. And being brave. Like, there are so many points along your story that you've just told us where you were really bloody brave, and putting your anybody pants on. I love that. So just to finish, I remember in that sauna, I have to clarify, I was not actually in a sauna.
You had clothes on. It was fine.
Fully clothed in a turned off sauna, which is my office when we are in the mountains. It's just bloody lovely. I remember you telling me that you had lost your purpose. You had had a really terrible time leaving the NHS. You had really felt quite lost.
I'd really struggled, because I've just made a YouTube video on this, and that is a perfect example of connecting with people. I made a video about losing purpose when you lose your job, and when your job is part of your identity, which it is if you're a doctor, a nurse, a teacher. When it tends to be more vocational, it tends to be part of who you are. And I made a video about it, and then I made the most personal newsletter I've ever written about it being a form of grief that you have to work through. And goodness, did that hit home. I've had no end of people just hit reply and just send me their personal stories, and something about it has obviously resonated with a lot of people. And it is exactly that. It was about not really quite knowing what to do with myself. And I think, again, I don't think it's uncommon when people retire full stop, even if they retire at a normal age, normal retirement age, and suddenly go from working very hard to not working and sort of trying to find themselves. But I think it's particularly hard if you retire young, and if you retire not through choice. I didn't want to retire. I mean, everyone assumes that it's this easy life. I would far rather keep being a radiologist. I really did enjoy it a lot. And I really didn't really want to break my body irreparably to retire, but it happened, and you roll with the punches. So it was finding that thing that would give me, because I've essentially got, 15 years till I'll be at regular retirement age. You need something to do in that time. I mean, it might be all fun at first. You can go out for dinner and you can get up at 8:30 and go on holiday and not have to worry about booking leave and coordinating with colleagues. But that novelty wears off pretty quick, and then you sort of find yourself sitting around the house all day going, oh, now what? What do I do? So that's what this has given me. It's given me, I mean, I'm just going to acknowledge that I'm in a very privileged position because I don't have the financial concerns that a lot of people have, because I have another income source at the moment, obviously through the pension. So just put that out there. I realise I'm in a privileged position for that. But even so, it's given me something to focus on and a way to give back as well. And perversely, I'm probably touching as many people's lives and helping as many people through my YouTube channel as I probably ever did reporting x-rays. You know, I think in the video I say I love the fact in radiology you can totally change somebody's life, because if I spot the early cancer on the GP chest x-ray that someone else might not have spotted, and that gets removed and that person had stage 1 and lives, that's absolutely that feeling. And they don't necessarily, like I said in the video, they don't even know your name. That feeling was phenomenal and I missed it. But now when you put a newsletter out and people reply going, this really resonated with me, I've got this disease, that disease, I've had to leave my profession, I don't know what to do with myself, and you've given me some hope, then that, you know, sort of a little bit of grit in my eye. That is phenomenal, and being able to touch people's lives in that way. And that's what this has given me. And that's what the business has given me, and the program, and through that, the YouTube channel, which is just an extension of what I'm doing anyway. And it's also giving a little bit back. So it's me being able to use my skills as a coach and my knowledge base to give something back to people for free who might not be able to afford coaching as well, which is, again, something very special. I'm not wanting to get too gushy, but that, it's given me my identity back. As a micro influencer.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a YouTube sensation and micro influencer, and I can see it is palpable, and it's just been an absolute honour and joy to watch that journey and all the bumps along the way, and it's obviously struck with me because I can remember them really clearly, and I'm incredibly proud of what you've done. I think you're absolutely brilliant. And
I couldn't have done it without you, so thank you.
Well, you're a pin-up girl in the community. Everybody loves you. So thank you for spending time with us. I think you've touched on so much there, and I know that lots of people are really going to enjoy this podcast. So thank you for your time. I'm delighted that you found your purpose. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. Let's take something from this. And I think the big overwhelming thing for me is that courage to just go and just take an idea and run with it and not overthink it, take the action, because I think we get stuck with our own, like you say, inner critic, overthinking everything. So that movement forward and just getting out there and giving it a go. Like you say, nobody actually cares quite as much as you think they do.
And also, what's the worst? What's the worst that can happen? You see celebrities who go through, let's reference Jimmy Carr and his tax issues. That was all over the papers. He's still got a job. He's still presenting. Yeah. You can do far worse than I'll ever do and bounce back. So what's the worst that's going to happen is you're never going to see these people again. So that was my view.
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Brilliant. Well, thank you for joining me. There's lots of stuff we've talked about on here. We've talked about the program. We've talked about Terrell. I will be offering a combination of the bigger program with like a VIP option where you have a one-to-one with me, and then you have this strategic AI build out with Terrell. That will be offered probably as this podcast goes out. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, just send me an email. Ruth, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Perfect.
What I didn't say when we were talking to Ruth is that if you want to keep in contact with her, if you want to find out what she is doing, then the best places to find her are on the website at www.ruthmachin.com. On Instagram and LinkedIn, she is Dr. Ruth Machin. And then the YouTube channel that you've just been hearing all about is Dr. Ruth Machin, Wise Women Wellbeing. So she'd be happy to hear from you from any of those platforms. Thank you and goodbye. I hope this episode has sparked some new ideas or challenged your thinking. Transitioning from medicine to business is not easy. It's about adapting our skills, while embracing the unknowns of entrepreneurship. It can be nerve-wracking, but remember, you are not alone on this journey. Please feel free to reach out to me via direct message on LinkedIn or Instagram, or just shoot me an email at jo@bendylegs.com for support. And don't forget to grab the free PDF from the show notes, From Stethoscope to Startup, which is your go-to guide and resource for diving into entrepreneurship. Many thanks for tuning in. I will see you next time. Thanks for spending your precious time with me.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.
Fall is all about cozy comforts, but when you're prioritizing your health, it's easy to feel like you're missing out. With Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your fall favorites because they're made with Hero Bread sliced bread loaves, tortillas, bagels, dinner rolls, and more. Try their all-new Hero Noodles with 12 grams of protein and just 80 calories. So skip replacing every carb with cauliflower and indulge in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner time favorites while still hitting your goals. From breakfast bagels and meal prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. They've even got small batch drops of indulgent favorites like the popular Hero Croissant. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's fall25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.
Dreaming of blissful summer days and creamy popsicles? Capture sun-drenched memories with the Orange Vanilla Dream Hydration Multiplier from Liquid IV. Just 1 stick and 16 ounces of water can help hydrate you better than water alone. Live your summer dream with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code INDULGE20 at checkout.